This training session focuses on one of the most practical and critical questions of the Cyber Resilience Act: understanding whether your organization and your products fall within its scope. We examine how the CRA applies to products with digital elements, including software, hardware, and the remote components required for their operation, such as cloud-based services. The session also clarifies roles and responsibilities across the supply chain, highlighting the central accountability of manufacturers throughout the entire product lifecycle. Finally, we discuss why CRA compliance does not end at product launch, but requires ongoing processes for vulnerability handling, patching, and incident reporting, supported by durable and auditable organizational practices.
Now that we have initiated the recording session, I would like to introduce myself. My name is 𝗧𝗿𝗶H and I'm chairman of the Digital Innovation Hub Trachea. I will say a few words about the Digital Hub in just a second. Prior to that, I would like to say that today with us we have the opportunity to host 𝗧𝗿𝗶H. Dr. 𝗧𝗿𝗶H is a seasoned standardization expert in the field of cybersecurity, and he was also joining us on the previous training with a colleague of his from the European Digital Innovation Hub pool of experts, 𝗧𝗿𝗶ₛ. Today we will have 𝗧𝗿 𝗀𝗃 with us. All three of them are again seasoned experts in the field of cybersecurity standardization. They are known names in Bulgaria in particular, but as of a few, I would say, years already, they're also expanding their presence across Europe. Miroslav, a few months ago, co-founded the Bulgarian Artificial Intelligence Institute and is now engaged with different projects in Bulgaria and across Europe with the institute. So congratulations, Miroslav, about this new initiative of yours. Maybe you would find peers in the call and may actually share a few words in your introduction about that initiative. I did not mention it the previous time that we were together last month, but it's something that is good to know. 𝗧𝗿 on her end is a part of the Women for Cyber initiative. She co-founded Women for Cyber Bulgaria branch as part of the pan-European umbrella organization promoting the place of women in cyber and on different governance roles, positions, but also supporting the young generation through different internships, mentorship programs. And 𝗧𝗿 𝗀𝗃, also part of the pool of experts of the Digital Innovation Hub, part of what I already shared, the Women for Cyber initiative, because not only women participate, there are many men that are encouraging and supporting their activity in the field, and also part of the AI Institute in Bulgaria. He's well known in the field of certification in particular, and is basically the leading force behind the initiation of the first Bulgarian college-level educational program in cybersecurity, which follows strictly the ENISA framework for cybersecurity competence building, which is actually the first such fully compliant program across the EU. He would be able to share more on the matter. Maybe in the call, why not? Why not in the call to basically use the opportunity that we have a vast pool of experts today on the call, but definitely at the end of the month in Brussels on a pan-European ENISA event about education in cybersecurity. Now, I started with this expose simply because I feel obliged to basically show you around the expertise that we have in the Digital Hub and why we're doing these trainings. Now, as I would like to be more punctual, I will share a few slides, continuing and more or less closing this intro, giving the word to Miroslav afterwards. So far, I've been discussing about the expertise that we have in-house in the Digital Hub. But actually, what is more interesting and important is the fact that we are part of a pan-European effort initiative through which I suppose you have heard about today's training. This is the 𝗧𝗏 project. Within the 𝗧𝗏 project, we have many partners from different European countries. These are the partners that I'm speaking of. The project, the 𝗧𝗏 project, is coordinated by PMF Research out of Italy, seasoned IT consultancy company. We have also on the development and partners from Romania. They're represented, the development guys are represented by and girls by OVS Enterprise and NRSEC out of Romania, Bucharest. Also from this part of Europe, we have R&D partners, a very experienced research institute, EMAG. It has more than 20 branches. We work with our colleagues from the region of Katowice in Poland. We also have from Estonia on to the north Unisys Tech. We are building the open source cyber resilience act tools that we're going to speak during the workshops that we're going to start as of January. So far, we have these trainings more or less as I would say tabletop exercises on building compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act, but as of January, we'll be showing you the different tools that our colleagues are building. They will be deployed on the Unisys platform, which is a platform for governance, risk, and compliance initiatives of small and medium enterprises, not only related to the CRA, not only related to other cybersecurity legislation, but GRC in general. Then, as I mentioned, the Digital Innovation Hub Trachea, we are also known as Cyber for All Star. We are one of the 150 digital hubs from across Europe. What makes us more different is probably the fact that we are fully cybersecurity focused, oriented. We provide cybersecurity services for free to small and medium enterprises from across Europe. So the fact that we are based in Bulgaria does not mean that we are limited to supporting only Bulgarian enterprises. We are open to engage in support initiatives with SMEs from any member state, and also associated members from the EU member applicant countries, from Turkey to Ukraine. More or less, that's about all on the consortium side. It's important to know through us, through me, through Miroslav, whom you can reach out to. Now, saying this particular, I would say, point, the fact that we can serve as a point of entry into your CRA journey, I would like to say that at the end of this training, depending on the time, I would like to emphasize on this point, we would also be looking into the other hubs that are available, the other projects that are available for you to basically leverage their tools, the tools that they're building. So if we do not have the time to say a few words about the different projects, what we are going to definitely do is to basically include this information within the slide deck. Basically, you would be able to receive the slide deck at the end of the training. I will show you a QR code, which will lead you to the document repository. Within the document repository, actually, you can even scan the QR code right now as we speak. Within the document repository, you will see the materials, the content from the previous training in September. You would also be able to see content from the upcoming trainings in November and December. But in particular for today's session, again, if we do not have the time to go into the different other projects apart from 𝗧𝗏, you would see one-pagers about every of these projects. And why this is important and why I'm emphasizing it at the start is because 𝗧𝗏 is building tools to help small and medium enterprise compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act in just a few fields of compliance. So as you can see on this particular site right now, there are a number of compliance areas. I have framed them in 10 different fields, from compliance assessment and gap analysis assessment, to basically know where to start from, where we currently are, where we want to get in terms of compliance, to basically continuous monitoring and reporting dashboards. All of these different fields of compliance are supported by the tools being built by different consortiums with funding, with support from the European Commission. And as I said, 𝗧𝗏 is only going to deliver a couple of these basically solutions that would be available for you. Therefore, if you want to achieve full compliance with the help of these EU-funded projects, you need to go into the different use cases that they cover and gain access to their value proposition. It doesn't matter if you're going to do it directly or you're going to do it with our support. I simply want to start by showing that they exist, by providing links to their web pages and giving you the opportunity to follow closely their development. Similarly to the 𝗧𝗏 tools for CRA compliance, currently their own tools are being built and deployed in pilot stage. Hopefully, as of January, all of these solutions will be live. So in the workshops that we're going to run from January to April, you'll be able to experience not only our solutions for compliance support, but also theirs. 𝗧𝗏 is only one of the projects. I simply am not going to go into them. That's why the slide is available with the link to any of these projects. But again, our point as part of today's session is to start by the fundamentals, start with more information on the Cyber Resilience Act itself, then potentially go into the value proposition of our colleagues. Many times I mentioned the fact that the 𝗧𝗏 platform is not going to be one size fits all solution. Is not going to be the only source of support for your compliance. Within the slide deck, you would be able to see very well crafted, I would say, framework. How you're going to be able to leverage the platform. Again, I'm not going to go into it now because this is something that we'll be covering within the workshops, but more or less I just want to mention that apart from a general checklist that you would be able to see on the platform, the checklist will help you navigate whether your product with digital component fit into a scenario in which self-assessment would be sufficient, or a third-party assessment through a laboratory run by a conformity assessment body would be required for you and your business, for you and your business's products to get the CE sign demonstrating, showcasing your compliance with the principles behind the Cyber Resilience Act. And afterwards, of course, after you do this checklist, you run through it, you will be able to use our offerings in order to build your software bill of materials. You will be able to use our platform to report on your vulnerabilities. This is something that is part of the core principles of the Resilience Act. Then you will be able to also report on incidents, and finally build documentation around this reporting in order to submit it in case, for example, a vulnerability is actively exploited, or in case there is cybersecurity incident that happened. It may have happened in a third-party organization, but an organization leveraging your product. So in both these use cases, whether we speak about reporting vulnerabilities or incidents, we would need this documentation to move through the pipeline to ENISA. Currently, ENISA is building a solution, a centralized reporting functionality. When I say centralized, still ongoing discussions are being held to basically decide whether this is going to be reported through the national cyber incident response centers or directly through the ENISA platform, and then trickled down to the different incident response teams on national level. But in both cases, our platform would enable you to prepare what you need to report in order to be compliant, and then we will do the integration with the ENISA functionality in order to finalize the process as explained in the CRA. I'm not going to speak any further about it, simply because Mirosław is the expert. He is the auditor who audits cybersecurity compliance to many SMEs across Bulgaria and Europe, and he knows better, for example, the timing behind our project, which is closely related to the timing behind the CRA, but this is something that we'll hear from him. I will leave you here with an ask. This ask sometimes is being, I would say, forgotten, but it's very important for us. At the end of this training, when Mirosław and Jasen, our panelists for today, conclude their remarks, we will be grateful for your feedback through this QR code. It's a very simple Google form, would not take you more than 2 or 3 minutes to fill in, so that we know how to adapt further our content. As we said last month, for those of you who did not attend, every month the content is unique and builds on top of the previous month. Last month we covered I would say the general cybersecurity compliance framework. Now we are going to deeper into it, but also go into the details of our projects, of the core piece of legislation that we are trying to cover and support you in terms of being compliant with it. Whether you are manufacturers of products with digital components, or you are importers or distributors, it doesn't matter. We want to be of help to you, and for us to be of greater help, you need to help us out by filling in the feedback and providing us points which we may have missed to cover, or of which you may have actually want to hear more. Mirosław, with this, I conclude my intro. Every time I try to make it like 5 minutes, but it goes in the 20s. I would just stop here and hand over to you. If in case you need special, I would say, approval for you to share your screen, please let me know, because so far I do not see any issues. So we can just continue with you, if that's okay.
Thank you, Christian, for introducing me and my colleague 𝗧𝗿𝗶, and for the presentation of Oscar project. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to see you again at our CRA seminar under the Oscar program. As you remember, this session today is focused on the most important new EU regulation, the Cyber Resilience Act, or simply the CRA. Today's session will be led by me and my colleague 𝗧𝗿𝗶. We will share today's session. I will start with the first part, and Jasen will continue with the next topics. Together, we will explore how the CRA changes the way Europe approaches cybersecurity, not as something extra, but as something built into every digital products and services. The session starts now and will last about 1-2 hours and 1.5. Let me say again a few words about myself, so you know who is speaking to you today. My name is 𝗧𝗿𝗶. I work as lead auditor for management system, mainly in information security, quality, and IT services. I have more than 10 years of experience with standards such as ISO 27001 and 19001. I help companies build real security systems, not just documents, but everyday practices that protect people and data. I'm also deputy manager of the Bulgarian Union of Standardizers and chairman of the Institute of Artificial Intelligence. My work connects cybersecurity standards and innovations, exactly where the Cyber Resilience Act belongs. So, what is this seminar about? The goal is simple: to build both understanding and practical skills about the CRA. We will meet once a month from September 2025 to April 2026. The first four sessions, including today's, are more theoretical. We will look at the background, the scope, and how the CRA connects to other EU laws like DORA, NIS2, and GDPR. From January 2026, we will have workshops with real examples and tools from the 𝗧𝗏 project. By the end, we will not only understand what the Cyber Resilience Act says, but also how to apply it in practice. Last month, in our first session, we talked about why the Cyber Resilience Act was created and why Europe needs it. We talked about why the Cyber Resilience Act was created, the political and economic reasons behind it, the rise of cyber incidents across Europe, and the needs to build trust in digital products across the single market. We also discussed how the CRA fits into the European Union's wider digital resilience strategy, and how it connects with other key regulations such as DORA, NIS2, and GDPR. Finally, we started to link these ideas to your own work in audit, policy, software development, and compliance. We agree that the Cyber Resilience Act is not just another regulation, but change in mindset. A move towards secure by design thinking in every sector. Sorry. Today's agenda. So last time, we learned why the Cyber Resilience Act was created and how it fits into the big picture on European cybersecurity. Today, we will go one step further and focus on the main parts of the CRA. First, we will see which products are covered. Things like IoT devices, software, and onboard hardware. We will talk about what products with digital elements really means in practice. Then we will talk at the roles and responsibilities of manufacturers, importers, and distributors, the main actors in the CRA. After that, we will mention the EU Cloud Services Scheme, which connects the CRA with cloud providers and Europe's with their cybersecurity framework. We will also see how the CRA affects companies that make IoT products, because connected devices are one of the biggest challenges today. Next, we will look at the main obligations, the declarations of conformity, technical documentations, and vulnerability reports. And finally, we will finish with sanctions and consequences, what happens when companies don't follow the rules. So this is our plan for today, from what is covered to who is responsible and what must be done. Let's begin with our first topic. Now we will talk about the types of products that fall under the Cyber Resilience Act. During this session, we will see what kind of products are included, which ones are not, and why the difference is important. We will also look at a few real examples from the daily life, things like smart devices, software and hardware components integrated into digital products. Let's begin by remembering the main ideas behind the Cyber Resilience Act. Every digital products on the European Union market should be secure by design. The question, which products are covered, may sound simple, but it's one of the most important parts of the CRA. The scope decides who must follow the law and which rules apply. The regulations does not focus only on big IT companies. It touches every manufacturer and every importer who brings digital products to the European market. If we understand the scope correctly, we understand how CRA will change cybersecurity across Europe. The CRA talks about products with digital elements. In simple words, that means hardware, software, and connectivity combined. It applies to both consumer and industrial products. The goal is clear. Security is not longer optional. It's not a legal requirement for all connected products in the European Union. Let's start by looking at what exactly a product with digital elements means. The CRA gives a wide definition of products with digital elements. This includes any hardware or software that has a digital function or can connect to another device or a network. For example, IoT devices such as smart TVs, home assistants, industrial sensors, and connected cars. Software like operating system, antivirus program, firmware, or mobile apps. Embedded hardware such as routers, programs, smart meters, or medical devices. These are all examples of digital products that can create cybersecurity risk if they are not designed safely. That is why the Cyber Resilience Act makes sure that every connected products in the EU must be secure by design and secure by default. Here we see the bigger picture, why the European Union created the CRA. For many years, there were big security gaps between different types of products. Some sectors were already covered by specific laws, by example, medical device or cars, but many other products, especially IoT and general software, had no common cybersecurity rules. Europe wants to fix these gaps and make sure that every product, large or small, follow the same minimum standards. The CRA is part of this larger European Union mission to fill the holes in cybersecurity and protect users in the digital single market. Or as Enisa say, from gaps to governance. Now, let's see how the CRA classify products. There are two main groups, important or critical and critical products. Important products listed in Annex 3 in CRA include general connected devices and most consumer or business software. Critical products listed in Annex 4 in CRA are high-impact items, for example, network management system, security software, or industrial control equipment. Critical products are divided into Class 1 and Class 2, depending on the level of risk and functionality. The classification decides how strict the security assessment must be before a product can be sold in the European Union. Let's look more closely at what is in scope. The products covered by the CRA: hardware products, including components placed on the market, laptops, smart appliances, mobile phones, network devices, CPUs. Software products, also including components, operating system, word processors, mobile apps, or software libraries. And remember, the CRA also includes their remote data processing solutions, such as cloud systems that help the product work. So if a product has hardware, software, or online elements that make it work, it's covered. The main idea, the CRA applies to any connected digital products placed on the EU market. Of course, not everything is covered. The CRA does not apply to non-commercial products such as hobby or research devices not sold on the market. Services, for example, websites or web-only tools, these are covered by other laws like NIS2 and DORA. Outright exclusions like cars, medical devices, or certified aeronautical and marine system that already have their own safety rules. So the Cyber Resilience Act focuses only on products with digital elements that are placed on the EU market. This helps avoid overlap with other European regulations. Let's make this more concrete with a few real examples. A smart thermostat. It connects to Wi-Fi and controls temperature, so it must receive security updates and vulnerability management. Mobile banking app. It handles sensitive personal data, so it must report vulnerability and protect user information. A connected medical device like a heart monitor. This one is critical and must meet strict requirements, often under both CRA and medical regulation. A cloud-based network monitoring tool, it falls under the CRA, but also connects with the EU Cloud Services Scheme. As you can see, Cyber Resilience Act affects products across many industries, from home to healthcare and from mobile apps to industrial networks. Why does this classification matter so much? Because it defines how deep the security checks must go. For important products, companies can perform a self-assessment To show compliance for critical products, a third-party audit or certification by a notified body is required. The higher the risk, the stronger the verification. This balance allows small businesses to comply more easily while keeping high-risk system fully protected. It's a smart way to improve trust without overloading the market with bureaucracy. Let's summarize the main points before we finish. The CRA covers any connected products, hardware, software, and other systems. Introduces two levels of control, important and critical products. It ensures products are secure by design and secure by default. The Cyber Resilience Act builds consumer trust and support Europe digital single market. The message is simple. Security is not longer a bonus. It's the law. Every company selling digital products in the EU market must think about cybersecurity from the very first design stage. The next topic. In this session, we will focus on the economic operators, the people and organization responsible for making sure digital products are safe and compliant with the CRA. We will look at the three main actors, the manufacturer, the importer, and the distributor. Each of one has clear duties under the regulation, and together they form a chain of accountability from production to the end users. Cybersecurity does not stop once a product leaves the factory. Every step in the supply chain affects security from design to delivery. The CRA makes sure that responsibility is shared along this chain. It fills the gap between products creation, import, and sale. As Enisa say, security cannot stop at the factory gate. This means that every actor in the product's journey must think about cybersecurity, not only engineers, but also importers and distributors. Let's see the overall picture. The CRA defines three main roles in the product life cycle: manufacturer, who design and build the product; importers, who bring products into the EU market; and distributors, who sell or make them available to user. Together, they ensure that digital products placed on the market meets the same security standards everywhere in the European Union. The manufacturer is the key player under the CRA. They carry full responsibility for compliance. Their main tasks include designing and developing the products according to the cybersecurity requirements in Annex 1, preparing the technical documentation and the EU Declaration of Conformity, affixing the CE marking before the product enters the market, setting up a vulnerability handling process. In simple words, the manufacturer is responsible from the very first design to the moment the product's research reach the user. the manufacturer's job does not end when the product is sold. They must continue to monitor, patch, and report vulnerabilities. If an exploited vulnerability is found, it must be reported to ENISA and the national authority within 24 hours. Manufacturer also need to provide security updates during the whole support period and to keep records of compliance. They must cooperate with authorities during inspection or when incidents occur. Next, let's look at the importer. The importer acts as a gatekeeper between the manufacturer and the EU market. Before placing a product on the market, the importer must check that it has the declaration of conformity, that it shows the CE marking, and that technical documentation is available in an EU language. If something is missing, the importer must not release the product. They also make sure that traceability information, contact details, batch number, and origin is correct. The distributor is the last link before the product reaches the user. Their role is to check visible compliance, the CE mark, correct labeling, and clear safety instructions. If a product looks unsafe or modified, they must stop selling and inform the importer or manufacturer. Distributors also play a communication role. If user or authorities report risks, the distributor helps pass the information back through the chain. Security is shared duty. Manufacturer, importer, and distributors all depends on each other. They must keep open communication about vulnerabilities, incidents, and updates. For example, when a patch is released, the importer and the distributors must help deliver to the user. The CRA creates a system where everyone in the supply chain has a role, from design to recall. It's not about shifting blame, but about shared accountability. ENISA describes information flow as two-directional. It must move both up and down the supply chain. This means manufacturer must give importers and distributors accurate information about updates, version number, and contact points. And in the other direction, distributors must report problems or incidents to importers and manufacturer. Clear information flow keeps the system transparent and helps authorities act quickly in case of cyber incidents. Before any digital products can be placed on the EU market, it must go through a conformity assessment. There are two main paths: self-assessment for important products and third-party certification with a notified body for critical products. Every actor must keep the related documentation for at least 10 years. This ensures traceability and long-term accountability, even after the product is no longer sold. Article 11 of the CRA introduces a clear rule for vulnerability handling. Each operator must have a process for discovering, fixing, and reporting vulnerabilities. The typical sequence is simple: discover, report, fix, notify. The manufacturer leads this process, but importers and distributors must cooperate, especially when user reports incidents. ENISA highlights that effective reporting builds trust between products, users, and authorities. This slide shows the summary table: who, what, when. Manufacturers take care of design, documentation, and updates. Importers verify documents and marking before placing products on the EU market. Distributors check visible compliance and cooperate during recalls. Together, they form a single cybersecurity chain, secured by design, verified before sale, and supported after delivery. And that is why the CRA emphasizes cooperation. Cybersecurity is only strong when everyone in this chain plays their part. Of course, there must also be control. National authorities are responsible for market surveillance. They can request documentation, stop sales, or order recalls in the product is unsafe or not complained. Sanctions under Article 53 can be heavy, up to several % of the company's turnover. This approach aligns with the EU market surveillance regulation.
Miro, I think we lost your presentation if you're sharing on the previous slide prior to your last point that you are currently making on the potential downturn of non-compliance.
Okay. Next slide. On this slide, we can see the big picture of how the Cyber Resilience Act works inside the European Union. Everything.
Maybe someone else can write in the comment section. Now I see it. Yes, sorry, it may have been on my end because I'm answering questions and giving links. Sorry for the interruption if everyone is seeing well. Yes, thank you, Maria. Okay, please proceed, Miro.
Okay. On this slide, we can see the big picture of how the Cyber Resilience Act works inside the European Union. Everything starts with the economic operators, the manufacturers, importers, and distributors who are responsible for designing and selling products with digital elements. These products must meet EU cybersecurity requirements, such as being secure by design and during their whole life cycle, having a clear process for vulnerability handling and reporting incidents or exploited vulnerabilities. Compliance is checked through a conformity assessment. For standard products, this can be an internal production control. For high risk of critical products, a type examination by a notified body, such as TÜV or another certified organization, is required. When the product meets the requirements, it receives the CE marking at EU Declaration of Conformity. The manufacturer must also prepare technical documentation, including a risk analysis and a software bill of materials. At the top, you can see ENISA and the Market Surveillance Authority, who supervise the process and handle vulnerability reports. Finally, the regulation works together with other European laws like Cybersecurity Act and the NIS2 Directive to create one consistent system. In short, this diagram shows how the CRA connects everyone, the market, the authorities, and the security standards, all moving toward the same goal of trusted digital market in Europe. We have no time. I will show next slide. To summarize, manufacturers design secure products and maintain them after release. Importers vary compliance before placing them on the EU market. Distributors check visible compliance and support consumer. Their common goal is to build a safe and reliable digital market in Europe. The CIA makes sure that cybersecurity is part of every stage, not on after all, but built in principle. Now, to continue our session, I'm happy to give the floor to my colleague 𝗧𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗃, who will present the next two topics. 𝗧𝗃?
Yeah, 𝗧𝗃 was just promoted to panelist and should be able now to share the screen, to present. So yeah, I mean, thank you for covering the content so far, and 𝗧𝗃 will take over from here in case due to technical reasons he is unable. Of course, we can adapt simply because I just promoted him. He's still unmuted, so 𝗧𝗃, you can.
I will unmute myself.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just let me get to the presentation mode, not mode.
By the way, while you are using the opportunity to present, I'm just going to share that in the webinar chat. I will share the links that I started with today's webinar or training, whatever you feel to call it, simply because QR code scanning, 𝗧𝗃, is not a favorite activity of yours. It has many risks associated, so I will simply share the end URL addresses where you'll be landing if you submit our feedback form, and if you want to access the repository with the materials from all the trainings, and also our survey, which is actually helping us to adapt our platform. 𝗧𝗃, we can see you very well. Now let's hear what you have prepared.
Yeah, did you see my screen also?
Yes, perfect. When I see a big, nice blue screen and it's not the blue screen of death, I'm always happy. So thank you.
Yeah, the screen is really blue and the colors are fitting. But as we know, the blue screen of death is the only secure thing into the Windows operating system. When you see it, you know it's in a safe state and rebooting. So there is a purpose for this kind of thing. And you can see my presentation, and after the EU CS, I don't have the non-smiling face. This is just the 2 points which are saying that it's a regulatory regulation of the cloud providers and architectures. And what I say, Christian, is that the last days we are appearing like the top stars. You know, we are heavily branded, but I'm a member of the Digital Innovation Hub Trachea. The 𝗧𝗃 project is co-funded by the European Union in the context of the ECC, and it's called 𝗧𝗃. Probably we're going to get the Cyber Oscars one day. So I'm looking to get there and present my presentation. So who am I? My name is 𝗧𝗿𝗀𝗃𝗃, and I'm part of the Digital Innovation Hub Trachea, as you see, but also I'm the leading auditor on the ISO 27001, and I'm working on the 40001, which is artificial intelligence certification. I'm a member of the Institute for Artificial Intelligence that was founded in the past couple of months, and also I'm leading the SAFER NGO. This is the first education-oriented NGO for mass awareness. And we've been successful to train 300 people locked in a tram, because when you're in a tram, you're watching the content and you can go away. Also, the metro is an interesting training media. I'm also a managing director of 𝗧𝗶H Bulgaria, and this is really giving me a great opportunity to have multiple hats, because when you're working in a huge international company, then you're able to see how the market is preparing for the changes. And in the context of 𝗧𝗧𝗏, we know the kiosks, the POSs, the EFT, the payment terminal, and the fiscal devices, even they're going to fall in the Cyber Resilience Act. So it's giving me an extra practical business orientation on what I'm doing. And the 𝗧𝗏 is really the platform that we are building the innovation and ecosystems in Bulgaria, in the region. And as you mentioned, Christian, nobody was ready to go with the new profession, cybersecurity, but now Bulgaria is the only country who have a cybersecurity professional in the educational standard, and this can be get free of charge if you're a Bulgarian citizen in a normal school, or you can get a fast track. So if somebody wants to get the cybersecurity professional, Bulgaria is offering this. You're welcome. I'm also taking some master degree courses with my colleagues, Christian and Sashka and Miro. I'm leading the cybersecurity standards, and this year I'm adding the 4001 because there is too much on the risk when you're talking about the AI and data. So this is cybersecurity standards, and also I'm leading the cybersecurity fundamentals. This is the place that you need to explain to the people what is it about when you're talking about the cybersecurity. And generally, it's not very complex. First, you should understand that everybody is hackable. So we're using the hashtag #MeToo, I can be hacked. And the other thing that we're explaining is that if you're more careful, understanding the risk, then you're becoming more secure, so less risk. Let's jump to the topic. What is the EUCS? I'm adding some text. I know that you're reading faster than I'm talking, but it's good because you can get this presentation with you. So it's a certification schema. It means that they're explaining what should be done if you're going to be accepted as a compliance. Or shortly, it's a legal basis. Then it says that there are a couple of levels that based on these levels, you should put different kind of efforts. And it's applicable to everybody who wants to operate in the EU. But the certification schema says there is strict equal rules, and as important you are, it's becoming more important. And this is in the context of the cloud services. So what is cloud, we're going to understand later. This is the objectives of the 27 member states. They should eliminate the fragmentation. So when you say the cloud service or remote data processing, what this means, there is a fantastic article which creates the description of all the terms used in the regulation, and especially in the decertification schema. It's a trust, because if you're building a solution, you're embedding your suppliers' components into it, no matter they're hardware, software, or cloud services. Anyway, you're preferring to get somebody that you're going to have less trouble with. It means that he do some job for you. So you're selecting those that are already trusted and have the certification schema. Yes, you can go from the beginning, but it's a question of money and effort and also the trust. And if you want to sell on the EU, it's simple. If you don't have the Cyber Resilience Act certification, if your cloud services, depending on the requirement, are not certified against the schema, you're not going to be able to sell. This is what I'm also telling to some of the people that I'm working in. The cybersecurity is not a wish, it's an option. You're becoming cyber secure and you're surviving with your business, or you're not cyber secure and your business is going to be finished one day. I believe we should start to talk honestly on the cybersecurity. And when you talk about the cybersecurity, when you talk about the certification, when you're talking about the trust and validation, there is a risk in the bottom. And this is why the risk assessment is really key component when you're discussing what it's all about. Consider the EU cloud certification schema as a concept on certifying low level or necessary level of risk, and this way not introducing risk to the supply chain. The supply chain is another thing that is very, very important. So the legal framework, what is it's about, Miro mentioned about this, but you should understand that there exists, that ENISA is a key player, that there is an integration of the other regulations, and now for the EU CS, it's still the final candidate. So we're waiting a little bit more to become the final. And if somebody asks the question why it's not final, because the guys with the high-risk devices, they're really important and they're struggling. But the good thing is that they're going to get an agreement somewhere on the middle where the risk is reasonable and can be accepted from the both sides. I mean, from the certification schema authors and also from the producers. How many levels? You know, this is like a game. On each level, as you go up, it's becoming more complex because it's expected more from you. So based on the levels, you generally know about the 3 levels, but there is a 1+ level which is offered to be high plus. But let's look on them. The first level is fundamental security controls for low-risk cloud services. You can really compare what is wanted from the cloud services to understand that they're wanted also by the devices, what was talking Miro before. The difference is that you should consider that the cloud services, they're somewhere else and somebody's connecting and processing data. We're going to talk about different types of cloud services. So try to find this coherence because it is going to make your life simple. Don't think for each device as a separate unit. Just think it as a complete solution and system. So there is this substantial level, which is more than basic. So you need some security measures for medium risk applications. The question is, what is medium risk? We're going to see them. They're going to be discussed. And then we have the high level, which is it should be really good when you're having this kind of processing, probably the health data, the space, the telecommunication, and others can get there. And then the proposed, which is high level plus, equals the cons that these are cloud services, because we're talking about cloud services which are related to the sovereignty and our fundamental rights. The world is not anymore like it was. So we should think about digital sovereignty, and this is data localization. Generally, the European data is important, but now everybody's consuming it. Also, the EU jurisdiction, and it's under debate. So we're looking for it if you're in these areas where data is processed from your devices in the context of our sovereignty in mind, that the changes can come for your cloud service certification schema. What we're covering, small letters, you know, this is my favorite. Why putting small letters? Because in every document there are small letters and you're missing them. But in general, what we're getting in the scope, this is the services, and there are different types of the service offering. So there is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. If your system is one of these platforms and services, let's say services, then it means that if your device is sending data to be managed, and this device cannot work by itself without the existence of the cloud service, then it's going to fit the cloud service in this area. So no matter how you're calling it, it's there. The cloud types, you know, again, if you try to escape the cloud types, it's all of them. So it's a public, private, hybrid, multi, and cloud environments. No escape. Everything is there. If you have a different wording, it's going to fit inside. So don't think how to escape the certification schema. More think, is your device able to work alone, or it's need to go out, which is processing the data, and then define the risk. And when you define the risk, choose the type. Then, which technical standards are based and they're going to be used. Definitely 27001 and 20002, and different international frameworks which are going to help you to prove the compliance again the certification schema, but the certification schema by itself, its own rule that you're going to stand again and prove it. What is the transparency requirements for the cloud systems? They cannot be any more black boxes. So when it's when you're doing the assessment, you should go and you can see how data is processed, where is the location, what are the applicable laws, what are the governance structure. It's coming very strange lately when you're having AI systems which are processing device data offline or in the real time, and then you didn't know are they located in Europe or they're in China or they're located in Europe, but the US company have full access to them, including the US government. So think about this. Anymore, it's not possible. You should have this transparency, and the European Union citizens' data should be protected. This is one of our sovereignty rights. Then, how we're doing the certification? If I want to make it sound simple, without any effort, I say you get the consultant, it's going to pass you over the last 5 stages, but it's not so complicated, so you can even think it for yourself. As I say, the first thing is that you should have an application. You should find the proper certification body. Probably in your country, they're not existing or they're going to appear. There is a lack of competence, but there is going to be certification bodies. Then you can think for third-party assessment and security controls and operational procedures. It means that when you open the schema, there are questions, and depending on your type, you can be self-assessed or doing it by yourself, or should go to lab to get a certification. Generally, it's a 3 years certification, and it very much reminds me to the ISO process. And if you look deep, you're going to see that there is not so new thing. Considering the ISO, considering the NIS2, then if you're having these things covered, then you're ready for the Cyber Resilience Act in the context of the cloud services. Then you have the renewal period, and then you have recognition. So if you're pass the certification, you're going to receive the label. You can put it on your device. It's a mandatory. You can also put it back on your office, and you can put it in social medias to say, I'm EU certified for cloud services. Again, nothing new, but it's time also to consider that the cloud services are a big part of the process to prove your responsibility, because sometimes the directives like the NIS2, they're not able to push you. The acts, they're obligatory. The next slide, simple, just take in mind the CRA is the things that defines the requirement that the remote data processing, this is the main thing. The remote data processing is called cloud services, and they should be part of the product. Simple understanding, this is the relation. And then who is getting there? And who is applicable? The European cybersecurity cloud services schema. It's to the organization that manufactured and provided cloud services for the producers of devices, or if the device producers are using the cloud services by themselves, it's their internal operation. But it's important that if your device cannot operate by itself and it depends on the cloud service, then you're going to first sign on the right, and it's remote data processing, so the cloud solution is there. The compliance is the link again from the CRA and from the EU Cyber Cloud Services schema, and for both of them there is a risk-based approach, so high-risk product, higher assurance level. Simple, clear. Types of the regulatory impact, just a slide, look for it, read it, understand. this is what should be done. I'm not going to get in details because we're going to receive this slide, but you see, when it's public, then we should push for a stronger isolation, because a single customer environment broken can lead to exposure of the other environments. What should be done from the cloud providers? A couple of requirements. As Christian says, and then Miro says, when you're talking about devices and the ecosystem and all the components, local or remote, you should have security by design. Before you start doing it, think about it. And encryption, I believe, is very important to be considered, and not a simple encryption, because quantum encryption, we see lately a collect now, decrypt later concept. You can imagine in a couple of years, the quantums are going to be out. So it means that all the encrypted data is going to be broken probably in a days. So think about strong security. There is documentation.
And also, Yasin, just to mention the new risks in regards to becoming post-quantum encrypted. You have currently proposed recommended algorithms, post-quantum algorithms, but then there are risks when you try to implement these algorithms in your OSI framework in across basically the channels of communication. Then problems may occur in the implementation of algorithms itself into higher level protocols. For example, in IoT, it's not that easy. It's not only the risk of, I would say, getting exposed to post-quantum hackers, but also getting exposed to your own misconfigurations. That's a challenge.
Agree, Christian, but I don't see any defense product without post-quantum encryption. And their device is no matter that they're for defense. And Europe now is investing a lot in defense. So think about it. If it's, again, question of risk. The second row is very important. Application documentation per Annex F. I was really laughing and enjoying when I was reading how it was written into the certification schema. Because it's in Annex F says you should have a couple of papers that you should provide based on your level of risk, and based on this you're going to have the report. I'm going to come back to F. Then the next thing is that you should know which is also services organization. So if you are providing a cloud remote service, then you should know who is your service provider for the cloud infrastructure. They should know probably where it's hosted. So the trust chain is very important. And if you're a producer of device, check everybody on this supply chain. Then you should provide additional info, because it's not only enough to be secure, you should communicate this. It's something else that you should understand also when you're related into cloud service that you're delivering to producer of the devices, or when you're a device producer and using cloud service, you should understand very well what means complementary customer controls. It means that the one who produces the devices, who are using the remote services, which is host cloud service, which are secure, they should also pay attention, and they should consider that this job should be done. Moving further, if there is incident, it should be reported. Then you should manage and do a periodic assessment. And this is what I say, NXF is not enough, because NXF says you should have a documentation. And when you should have documentation, it's not only XF, it's all the annexes. So get your documentation, but don't forget the other annexes which are coming in front of it. They're by name. And just to tell you what they're about. I'm not going to read it. There is an Annex A, which is security objectives and requirements to the cloud service provider. There on Annex B, we have an assessment methodology. On the C, we have the assessment of the sustainables, which are initial process to the supplier, so we can verify. Then we have the assessment of the basic devices. They also can go on the self-assessment, and they can be assessed by themselves or by the accreditation body. And then we have the E. It's what the assessment accredited bodies should be. This is the CAPS, as they call them. And the F is documentation. So it's what kind of documentation should have. So it's a couple of documentations. And then we have the G, H, and I. And I, we have the terminology. So the annexes in 30 seconds. You should read them. I believe we should have a separate training session on the annexes, but it's coming later. In short, every annex defines requirements, and all these requirements are linked to documentation. This documentation is showing the conformity, and this conformity should be assessed by the accredited bodies or by yourself, and everybody in the supply chain on the cloud service provider should be in line. Simple. If you're a manufacturer, if you're not cloud service provider, it's important because you should consider to select the proper provider which have the certification. Then you should check for all the documentation, is it there or not? But if you have the sign, then it's great because you can trust to the accredited bodies. On a certain periods of time, you should verify and check what's going on this. So it's a responsibility of the manufacturer of device who offer remote services to validate his cloud service provider. How it's going, the certification process, 5 steps that we mentioned before. What stands for CAP? This is good because sometimes when you're reading and you're overloaded with the CCC, CAP, CPS, EU, CS, you can get really confused. So this is good and mentioning here. Christian, if there are questions, let me know because I hear that something is pinging, but I'm not sure what is it. Then we should really consider that the European Cloud Services schema for certification is linked to the CRA product by itself. It's not by just the cloud. If the cloud is not, and the remote service is not linked to device, then we have another acts of the EU. The data, the NIS2 directive, but if it's connected to a device which remotely process data, and device cannot work without itself or without the cloud service provider, then we're getting here in these requirements. What is the takeaways? The UCS is a candidate schema. It means almost done. But if you ask me, if we have it better, then we can prepare better. Also, we can give feedback and probably we can get a second edition. Because if it comes late, it's going to be too late. It's a horizontal approach. So it gets all the cloud services which are remotely processing device data. And it's a mandatory, the producer to have a control over the cloud service provider. It's not forever. If you pass the compliance check, then you should have it from time to time. And as you mentioned, it was 3 years. And integrating with the CRA, it's really, really the valuable topic. Now the cloud services are considered as a part of the device. And yeah, if you want to have a trusted device, all components and suppliers, they should be trusted. We're going to go very fast on a case study, and in the next 6 slides, I want to advise you very carefully but smartly to use artificial intelligence And this was an experiment that I made for myself. So what I've done, and I believe you can repeat it for yourself, is that when I was having the presentation and the presentation done, and all the framework were included, all the highlights, everything was ready. And I know that Miroslav is going to talk about the thermostat. So I say, okay, let's figure out an imaginary company which has a thermostat, and this thermostat has a cloud analytics. Considering my presentation, please do the case study for me. So if you have a real thermostat, or if you're having a real smart device, or device which is falling under the Cyber Resilience Act and the EU Cloud Services schema, certification schema, then probably you can get our presentation, drop it in secure AI, and then in secure, I'm saying secure and AI, that you trust that it's not going to leak your information, drop some information for your device, and then you're going to see probably something that I got here. Even you can drop them, the outcome that I made for my presentation, but I want to show you how the technology can be your partner. And again, don't use unknown, untrusted, unsecure AIs to do this. But in my example, I know what I used, so I have a high level of trust. So what is the business context? We have a smart thermostat, we have a cloud analytics, we have the smart home tech Ltd, imaginary company, the intelligent thermostat. It's a real-time analytics to perform the energy optimization, and its market is a EU residential and small commercial building. There are hundreds of producers, and there is a Bulgarian company who is doing these devices. They're not called smart home. Again, they start with S. So what are the challenges? We have the thermostat, which has small brain and cloud behind it, so data is sent to be processed. So we have remote control, remote analytics, and AI prediction, because we are also getting satellite data for prediction of the weather, what's going to be. Yes, it's a device which falls under the CRA, because it's connected, but because the data is processed remotely, then the producer who is using the cloud calculation, he should use the cloud service for this. And when there is a cloud services, these cloud services, they should pass over the EU cloud service certification schema to show the compliance. Then we're having the Annex A. So we're describing the service. We're doing the control mappings, which are described in Annex A. I'm not going to open the Annex A because a couple of days is going to be enough. Then we're having the service control, which we're getting the documentation from the primary cloud service provider. So let's say, in this case, we're using the Amazon or Azure or other cloud service provider. So we can get the documentation from them, which shows that they're compliant, and then we can put it in our documentation. On top, we can put our microservice who is doing the services. We're going to verify that Amazon and Microsoft are secure enough, or the local cloud service provider is secure enough, or our private data center is secure enough. And we should coordinate and validate this with the accreditation body. So select something like this. The level is sustainable because it's a mini risk IoT application. If it was elevator drop with digital face recognition, it's going to be a different story. And it's going to take about 3 to 6 months to get certification applicable. And what is the process? They review, you're checking the documents, the process, they're doing the technique, and there is on-site assessment. Nothing scary. Probably you pass this on 9001, 27001, 20,000 or other standards. So if you're secure enough, it's not a big effort on top of it. And then what the customer, I'm calling the customer because it's not the end customer, me, which I put the device at home, but the customer of the cloud services, which is the producer of device. So you should very well understand that when you're talking this context about the customer, it's the one who produces the device and he consumes the services from the cloud service provider. So what the customer should do to verify, he should be validating that there is a strong password multi-factor authentication, that there is no unsecure Wi-Fi into the location, or they should not exist. The data sharing is clear. There is a consent because somebody can sell your data to companies who are producing electricity, and when they know that you're going to pick the consumption, they're going to raise your bill. You know, it's not good. There are guidance which can be provided, and this is what we're working in the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 project. So in the end, you're not going to be alone. Even now, we're not alone. We are going to give you this green supporting stuff that you can get related from us. And how to get the compliance? Couple of things: quarterly review, annual reassessments from the confirmation body, incident responses. If something gets wrong, you should fix it, and the 3-year cycle, which fits in general. To manufacturer, so this is the customer of the cloud services, and now he's a manufacturer. He should pass the risk assessment, prepare technical documentation, demonstrate the CE mark. This is from the Cyber Resilience Act, and yeah, we should have the supporting periodically devices and vulnerability management. What's new? You should see what is written in Annex A. If it's necessary for critical products, you should pass the third-party assessment, and you should report the incidents. It's this bad concept that if something fails, we should keep it quiet. Is not anymore applicable. The practical implementation roadmap. Probably it's good, Christian, to mention that in the next year, the Digital Innovation Hub Trakia is continued to deliver support to the SMEs on the digital services and digital transformation. So come to us. Part of these things you can get it as a free support. The others you can redirect with our ecosystem. But anyway, you're not alone because of the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 project. So between 1 to 10 months, you can start from a new device, and you cannot imagine the importers because we are European. So more or less we are supporting the rules. But if you want somebody to import it from outside and he didn't follow our seminars, he's going to be surprised that he's not able to import his products anymore. So if you're importer, it's also consider you. Talk with your suppliers. We are here to help. And my last slide. Thank you. You can reach me on my 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 email in emergent situations. Call me. But please, after 9:30 and before 5:30 Bulgarian time, and not in the weekends, if it's not very critical. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I didn't know how much I get, but I was really fast and furious considering the way that 35 minutes. Bravo. I was never been so fast. Thanks for the chance to present.
Thank you, Yasen. And I stole the screen from you just to make not a problem, just to make a conclusion on what you just said. By the way, I'm giving the opportunity for Miro to go back to his other content for the day, and for any questions related to the EU cloud framework, basically bring them on to the attention of the panelists, of the lecturers. Now, the EU CS is basically a scheme under what you currently see on the screen, under the EU cybersecurity certification framework, which falls under the EU Cybersecurity Act. Why we included this today? I mean, I'm not going to share any more on the matter behind it, because Yasen was very clear in this half an hour. I'm just saying that this is an initiative of ours, of the Digital Hub, and through the hub of the 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 project, to not only speak about the Cyber Resilience Act, because the Cyber Resilience Act is not a piece of legislation that exists on its own. As you can see from this very well-crafted framework, it is a small piece of the overall cybersecurity legislative framework intended to protect European businesses from unfair competition from third countries with lesser standards, to secure European consumers, to secure systems, part of the critical infrastructure, and in general to make the Union more stronger, more secure, and competitive on the global stage. When we only or solely speak of the CRA, we lose the bigger picture, and that's the bigger picture. This is what is important. Therefore, we asked 𝗧𝗿 basically to say a few words on how the EUCS as a certification scheme is related to the Cyber Resilience Act, and you heard plenty of him on how it is related. I'm just sharing that this is not the first, and it will not be the end, the final certification scheme that falls under the Cybersecurity Act and Cybersecurity Certification Framework. Follow the developments there. It's not at the core of OSCRA to speak about, but we will continue to say on each training a few words on related pieces of legislation that have to do with the CRA. Next time, 𝗧𝗿, maybe if you decide that that's a good idea to proceed with, maybe we can share a few words on how the NIS2 directive also relates to the CRA. What are the differences? What are the similarities? When manufacturer of a product with digital component need to follow closely both the CRA requirements and the NIS2 requirements. These are very fine lines that exist in between these pieces of legislation, and by sharing a few words about them, we can see where they overlap. For example, in the CRA, and I have opened it in front of me, it's in the legislation itself is in our drive, in the URL that I will be sharing with you. You can open the latest version of the CRA. In Annex 3, which is in front of me on the other monitor, and you cannot see it, but in the listing of important products, you can clearly see that software and systems that process or store data remotely, which is basically the variety of different cloud solutions falling under the schema that 𝗧𝗿 was speaking about, are in the scope, but if at the end of the day they are part of a product with digital component, not basically processing data stored on the user's device, but data stored remotely. And this includes the many use cases that 𝗧𝗿 covered: cloud software, software as a service platforms, remote analytics, virtualized environments, when placed on the market as a product. In the other use cases, if they're not placed on the market as a legal definition, or they're placed on the market but not as a product, then of course the certification schema is important to be followed if you are providing such purely cloud software services, not products, because compliance with the EUCS will help you be compliant with the Cyber Resilience Act if your overall product that is placed on the market consists of this piece of software, and then you, as the one who puts the product on the market, bear the responsibility of securing the different components that this is comprised of. That's the point of having a software bill of materials disclosing what, let's say, the meal consists of, what is the recipe, and if the different ingredients behind the recipe are safe for the consumer. And you cannot just say, well, I'm harvesting this particular ingredient from another field, from a third-party vendor. That's not my problem, not the problem of my restaurant. No, the problem of your restaurant or your product with digital component is to provide a safe meal to the customer, right? Who steps into your business and buys a product. Doesn't matter whether you sell it under a license on a different business model. So this is my take of what 𝗧𝗿 had to say. There are differences, there are similarities, there are places where the two pieces of legislation overlap. There are still, I would say, borderline questions that can be and should be discussed further, and that will be further clarified with the implementing legislation, with the different details that are covered in the horizontal and the vertical standards. But we will, I would say, be open to your questions at least until July 26, when OSCRA project concludes. So Since then, if you have any questions, if you are building a cloud solution and you are in a, I would say, discussion with your stakeholders where this solution fits, whether it's part of a broader product or not, and if it's not, how the schema, certification schema, can be basically overlapping with the Resilience Act, just drop us a note and we'll be happy to respond. And when Oskar ends, as Yasen said, we will continue to be happy to respond to your questions, simply because the Digital Hub Tracker will continue its operations at least until the end of 2028. Miro, would you like to take over from here? I took enough time for people to have a look at the framework. As I said, maybe next time we will speak about NIS2. Maybe a bit later we will also cover areas of overlapping with other certification schemes that are in the process of being drafted. The one that we discussed is, I would say, a work in progress. But of course, we have the UCC, we have others that are upcoming. So we will be refreshing the content with the time passing, but thus far we have not covered the content for today. So I'm muting myself and leaving the floor to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We need to cover also 2 topics for today. But in the beginning, I want to answer of the question in the chat box. The question is how responsibilities shall be split between manufacturer and importer and customer, mainly regarding incidents. This is anonymous question. Under the Cyber Resilience Act, responsibilities are shared but clearly defined. The manufacturer keeps the main responsibility for product security, including design, updates, and incident handling. If a security incident or vulnerability is discovered, the manufacturer must investigate and fix the issue, provide updates or patches to customer, and notify ENISA and national authorities within 24 hours if the vulnerability is actively exploited. The importer, in another site, must make sure the product that enters the European Union market is already compliant with the CE mark, declaration of conformity, and proper documentation. If the importer becomes aware of serious vulnerability or incident, they must inform the manufacturer and cooperate with both the manufacturer and authorities. The customer or user must install security updates and follow the manufacturer's safety instructions. They are not legally responsible for fixing vulnerabilities, but they play an important role in maintaining protection. So, in short, manufacturer lead the response and reports incidents. Importer support communication and ensure compliant product. Customer applies, update, and uses the product safety. Let's continue with the third part, next part of our CRA journey. I will share my screen. The obligation that every organization must follow. We will talk about 4 main things today: the declaration of conformity, the technical documentation, how to manage vulnerabilities, and how to notify authorities when something goes wrong. Now, these are not just formalized. they're the core of how the CRA turns principles into real action. So let's start with how companies provide their products are compliant. This slide shows the full compliance cycle. As you can see, it's not a one-time task. CRA compliance starts before the products enters the market and continues during its entire life. The steps are simple. Prepare documentation, make sure the products meets requirements, monitor vulnerabilities, and notify authorities when needed. Think of it like a continuous loop of improvement, design, test, release, monitor, and update. So what is the Declaration of Conformity? It's a legal document signed by the manufacturer to confirm that the product meets all CRA requirements. It's a statement of responsibility, saying we designed and built this product according to the law. Without this document, the product cannot be placed on the EU market. The Declaration of Conformity must also be available to authorities at any time, so it's a serious commitment, not a simple form. Let's look at what goes inside the declaration. It includes the product name, model, batch number, the manufacturer's details, and which EU laws or standards apply. It also lists the harmonized standards used to prove compliance and must be signed by the responsible person. The idea is transparency. Anyone should be able to check that the product follows the same rules as other in the Europe. It's part of the European Union's promise to create one safe and unified digital market. Now, how does the CE marking fit in? Think of it as a passport, a small sign that say the product meets EU safety and cybersecurity standards. You can only add the CE mark after completing the conformity assessment. There are two ways. One is self-assessment, used for most standard products, and the other is third-party assessment required for critical products with high risk. The CE mark, the declaration, and the technical file always go together. Next, let's talk about the technical documentation. This is the detailed evidence that supports the declaration. It describes how the product was designed, how it tested, and how cybersecurity risks were managed. Now, the documentation must be ready before the product is sold and must be kept for at least 10 years. Why so long? Because authorities can request if with any time to verify compliance. Here's what usually goes inside: a product description, a risk analysis, a list of security features, and software bill of materials, because a list of all components and libraries used. It also includes the test results, vulnerability management plans, and any certifications or audits. So when a company says our product is secure, the documentation must be able to prove it. In short, no documents, no compliance. But what happens after the product is on the market? The CRA makes it clear manufacturer must have a vulnerability handling process. This means they must monitor, detect, and fix security problems throughout the product's life cycle. If you find a new bug or weakness, you can't just ignore it. You need to evaluate it, patch it, and record the fix. The regulation also promotes coordinated vulnerability disclosure, where researchers and companies work together instead of hiding issues. Now, let's say a serious vulnerability is found and it's already being exploited. What must the company do? According to the Article 11, it must notify ENISA and the national authority within 24 hours. The notification must describe what happened, which products are affected, and what temporary measures have been taken. This quick reporting helps prevent further damage and allows other companies to react. The goal isn't to punish, but to share knowledge and to limit the impact of attacks. ENISA plays a central role in this process. It receives notification, coordinates information between member states, and helps avoid duplicate work. Manufacturer must also have a dedicated contact point for vulnerability reports, an email or online form that's easy to find. This kind of cooperation makes the European cybersecurity network stronger. Even after the product is sold, the work continues. Manufacturer must monitor their products, release patches, and collect feedback from importers, distributors, and users. If a product becomes unsafe, they must update or recall it. The CRA connects this with the EU generally safety rules, meaning that cybersecurity is now part of product safety. This is new for many companies, but it's an important step towards long-term resilience. All of these actions, documentation, testing, notification, must be recorded and kept for 10 years. Why? Because evidence is the only way to prove you follow the law. The records must include how did what, when, and how the problem was resolved. Importers and distributors must also keep copies of key documents, so the whole supply chain remains transparent. Now, us auditors and auditors like me say, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. Let's say a quick example. A company produces smart home devices. A researcher finds a security flaw in the product's Wi-Fi module and reports it. The manufacturer confirms the issue, prepares a patch, and release an update. Then they sent a report to ENISA and the national authority explaining the risk, the fix, and how users were notified. That's exactly how the CRA process should work in real life, fast, transparent, and responsible. Of course, things are not always easy. Many companies have missing documents, poor communication between departments, or slow patch management. Some don't even know how it's responsible for sending notification. The best solution is to prepare yearly, use templates, train teams, and set clear roles. Cybersecurity is not only a technical job, it's also good management. To wrap up, Cyber Resilience Act obligations are about continuous responsibility. First, declare compliance, then prove with the documentation. Keep your ears open for vulnerabilities, and when incident happen, communicate fast and clearly. These steps build trust with users, with partners, and with regulations. In the end, security by design also means accountability by default. That's the real split of the Cyber Resilience Act. My last presentation is about sanction and responsibility under the Cyber Resilience Act. It's not the happiness part of the regulation, but it's one of the most important ones. So let's start with the question, why do we even need sanction? The answer is simple: protect people and markets. When one company ignores cybersecurity, doesn't only risk it our business, it puts users, partners, and even critical infrastructure in danger. Sanctions help make sure everyone play fair and keep security a priority. They are not just punishment. They are a way to build trust and accountability in the European Union digital market. Under the CRA, everyone in the supply chain has a responsibility. Manufacturers, importers, and distributors, each of them plays a part. The manufacturer carry the biggest weight. They design, test, and declare the products that the product is compliant. But the importer and the distributor also share responsibility. If they know something is wrong and say nothing, they can also be fined. The Cyber Resilience Act is clear. Cybersecurity is shared duty. There are three main types of non-compliance. First, administrative, when documentation is missing or incomplete. Second, technical, when the products doesn't meet cybersecurity standards. And third, behavioral, when a company hides incidents, ignore vulnerability, or delay reporting. Each type has different consequences, from warnings to serious penalties. It's always better to fix problem yearly before then they become official violations. So what can authorities actually do? They can request documentation, perform technical checks, or even order withdrawal or products from the market. If the risk is high, the company may have to recall all affected devices. An international agency shared this information through the EU safety gate system. So that other member states are warned too. That's how the European Union keeps one level of protection across all countries. Now, let's talk about the things, because yes, they can be heavy. The CRA sets a maximum penalty of 15 million euros, or 2.5% of global annual turnover. Smaller administrative issues like a missing CE mark lead to smaller fines, but hiding vulnerabilities or ignoring incidents, that's considered a serious breach. The idea is the same as with the GDPR. Security and privacy are equally important. Before fines, there is usually a chance to fix things. Authority can issue a notice and request corrective measures. That means upgrading documentation, releasing patches, or improving processes. If the company acts fast and shows goodwill, sanctions can be reduced. So, in short, mistakes can happen, but ignoring them is what leads to real problem. One thing I really like about the CRA is that it promotes shared accountability. No one can just say it's not my problem. The manufacturer, importer, and the distributor are part of the same team. If one fails, everyone is affected. The regulation wants cooperation, not blame. When we look at other EU regulation, one clear message appears: transparency always helps. Companies that document everything, communicate clearly, and report on time rarely face heavy sanctions. The CRA continues this logic. It rewards responsibility. So the best protection is simple: do the right things and do it early. Let's take a quick look back at what we covered today. First, we learned which products fall under the CRA. Then we look at the roles of economics operators, manufacturer, importers, distributors. And after that, we export their obligations, documentation, declarations, and reporting. And finally, we talk about sanctions and responsibilities, what happened when rules are ignored. What about next session? Our next session will be on 10th of November 2025. We will export technical standards like ISO 2701, ISO 17025, some standards from 𝗧𝗿h, and ENISA recommendations. We will discuss how standards are used by testing labs, how certification work, and how CRA interacts with frameworks like common criteria and other documents and standards. It will be a more technical session, but with practical examples and a short exercise in the end. Before we close, let's remember the main message. Cybersecurity is not only a technical job, it's a legal and moral responsibility. The CRA brings structure, trust, and accountability into the digital market. Step by step, it helps build a safer Europe for all of us, users, companies, and governments. Thank you very much for joining today and for your attention. Christian?
Thank you, Miro, as well. I just sent out the form, the feedback form in the webinar chat, hoping that the attendees will help us in filling in. As I said, it's highly useful to us, given that we have 2 more meetings of more or less explaining the core and the surroundings of the CRA, and then hands-on workshops. We can improve all of these 6 sessions all in all by leveraging your feedback. I just want to check the Q&A window because we have unanswered questions, and let's see if we can cover them quickly before we go. And if someone is in a rush, of course, we're not going to the form cannot be seen. I cannot see the form. Okay, I will respond to Diana. Miro, check it in the meanwhile if you click and the form is visible, the feedback form. Now, I'm going to
Yes, it's visible.
You can see it. Okay, then I'll respond directly to our colleague who has difficulties. So are the sanctions limited to 1.5 global or 15 million euro, or could there be additional penalties for repeated incidents or unaddressed vulnerabilities? This is an interesting question. I would be happy to see, to hear your viewpoint, but as we just spoke, CRA is not a standalone legislation. You may be a company that brings a product on the market, on the European market. Let's say you, okay, not a manufacturer, you're an importer. You're importing smart sensors for agriculture, you know, moisture and stuff. You measure, you track, and of course you fall into the obligation to assess the conformity of these smart sensors with the CRA. But in the same time, as a importer or a distributor of such systems, you also have additional solutions that are built surrounding or on top of the technologies that you bring on the EU market. For example, you basically part of your value chain is related to bringing this to the EU market, but then you have a proprietary platform which helps those that leverage these sensors to make sense of the data. And then there is a breach, because the question is, would there be additional penalties? And if your company is operating in a sector providing services in this sector by leveraging or using these products, which is regulated by the Network and Information Security Directive, then of course you may be fined under NIS2. I'm not saying that this is a repetition or that this is a penalty stacked on top of another penalty. I'm saying that in most of the cases, when you are a business that manufactures a product with digital component and bring it on the European market, this is not a standalone one-time thing. It's part of a broader offering that you have, broader service portfolio. For example, the Digital Innovation Hub 𝗧𝗏𝗶H has a portfolio of 30 services, and part of these services are leveraging products we are currently not selling, but we may be selling in the future. This is just a specific use case of ours. So if we are uncompliant, if we have a breach in a system of ours, most probably this will affect products that fit under one regulatory regime, services that fit into another regulatory regime, cloud offerings that fit into the framework that Yasen presented, the European Union Cloud Scheme. And to answer your question shortly by providing this, I would say, case, figurative, imaginary case study, yes, this is not a threshold above which you cannot turn out to be in a situation that that things get worse on the worst side. In case that you are not compliant with the broader framework. This is my response to the question, and the other one Miro now will answer. I just want to wrap it up. The other question is very simple. Please provide link for the next session. Yes, I will provide while Miroslav answers to our colleague. Miro, the floor is yours to share your feedback on the penalties and repeated incidents question. Currently muted. Maybe Miroslav has a difficulty, technical issue. Okay, I mean, I suppose my question was, my answer was quite, I would say, considerate of the different use cases that may fall by answering your question. So if you have a particular, I would say, scenario, let's bring this offline. My email, that's a good point that I'm making. My email is, and I'll share it over here because it's not included in the presentation. My email is, just a second, to answer any follow-up questions that you may have, is h.dihtrachea.org. So if I misspelled a bit, there is a comma that should not be there, but you get the point. If there is a question that was not covered or answered, please let me know. I'm at your disposal. Miroslav will be uploading the presentations that he shared in the link that you already received in a few minutes. And if you check the link, let's say in an hour time, you'll be able to see the content. You can also see the content from last session. Thank you very much for your time. It was a great pleasure to share the stage with Miroslav and with Jason and to have you on the call. Let's see each other next month, November 8th. You need to register following the link that I shared. If you want to attend December's event, also need to register. Sorry about this additional burden. I will figure out a way to compensate. I have ideas, but I will share next time. Thank you all, and have a great rest of the day and a lovely month ahead. Cybersecurity Awareness Month, by the way. Stay safe.